Hello, welcome to our stream. You have reached HoT of Tales. My name is Aida. My pronouns are she and her. I am a Latina woman with tan skin, dark eyes, dark hair, and I am wearing ochre t-shirt with some nice crossover element that I'm sure is getting cut off right away. And we are here on a cozy day to play some what on earth is it that we're playing? We're playing Dragon Dowser. Dragon Dowser is a game that is created by Hatchling Games, and we are playing this, full disclosure, because Rich, the creator, the writer, said on Twitter that he's going to be giving out copies to be reviewed, to be played on, to help promote the game, promote the Kickstarter, which was wonderfully successful. And thus, I am here playing that with you today. To be honest, this is my very first solo TTRPG in any capacity, whether it's streamed or not. And I'm excited. I kind of do like the detail-oriented and just kind of going at my own pace. The only time I say I would really have done this is maybe generating worlds over and over at Starforge. It has some wonderful world creation tables, but that's about it. I have to say, despite all the TTRPGs I've played, and I very, very rarely dabble in GMing, I'm not that person who is bit by the bug of having to world build. I like having a firm foundation, and then I like branching off from there. I don't like building that foundation, that structure myself. I like to build off of things rather than go straight in fresh. So I think these kind of solo TTRPGs is a really good launching point to like flex that sort of creative muscle that's supposedly up in my head. So we're going to try that. Dragon Dowser is a solo TTRPG game with a lot of Ghibli-esque vibes, and it is played using the Carta system, which means that there are playing cards which are represented by what you see on the screen, and that is going to determine how the story will progress. This is also my first time playing with this system, like I said, any sort of solo TTRPG, and I'm really much looking forward to it. So without much ado, let me read the little blurb that was included in the Dragon Dowser booklet. So just to set up the picture where we are in our setting, the following reads: Our world was on the brink of collapse when the dragons arrived from a place parallel to our own. They came to help us, their unhatched eggs producing a wondrous energy able to power long-buried machines we once relied upon. Eventually, the land began to heal, and the spore storms calmed. But then we discovered the yolk of their eggs held the true power. Using the revived machines as weapons, our tyrannical rulers slaughtered countless dragons to take their precious eggs, undoing centuries of peace in the blink of an eye. Now a group of rebels called Dowsers work to save the remaining dragon eggs and restore peace to Pralar. So we are in some sort of alternate universe, time period unknown. There is some measure of technology here. There does seem to be ruling structures of monarchy, kingdoms in this sort of regard, who rule within, that iron fist. Their goals for power are to paramount, not the people's, not who their charge is, and certainly not with allies such as these dragons, who I guess once upon a time were seen as legendary, otherworldly, powerful, revered creatures, and now are just a means to an end. And the story specifies that the player goal is: using your dowsing crystal, you must overcome the elements, uncover ancient mysteries, avoid the attentions of a tyrannical ruler, and save the last of the dragon eggs. So we are in a time period known as the Yolk Wars, where, according to the story here, it wasn't so much that the eggs themselves were valuable, it was what's inside. So breaking them, their destruction, was what mattered most of all. And this is sort of, I guess, a literal interpretation of killing the goose for the golden egg. The golden egg is what matters, these short-term sort of goals, which, sure, that's totally what tyrannical rulers do. I completely buy it. And Dowsers, who the players who I will be playing, is someone who is going to stand up against this injustice, who's going to rescue these eggs, and from eggs hopefully are hatchlings, and hopefully a way to repair the relationship with these dragons, and maybe to do something about these said tyrannical rulers. And I'm very excited and I hope that this story goes well. To my understanding, of course, there's a chance this story might not succeed in this playthrough. Who knows? I'm gonna find out. All right. The reviewer's copy of Dragon Dowser that I have is beautifully written. There is a very smart use of bold text. There's not heavy formatting, so I know what's important. I'm not overwhelmed by big red text and boxes and other things. It's very simplified, so it's kind of easy on my eyes. The art is very Ghibli-esque, something that Rich and Hatchling Games very much are big fans of, and that shines through itself. According to this, the gameplay should last between 30 to 60 minutes, depending on which card to overturn. That's a little bit of your RNG. You need your cards, which I have here set up on Roll20. I would have had them aimed on a table with my phone camera over them, with a lot of items precariously balanced over, but Marcus gave me the good idea to I did it on Roll20, try setting it up. The setup on Roll20 does work wonderfully well in this regard. However, in having to manually make a new deck and set up the cards, I did this a few weeks ago, you kind of have to manually sort out which cards you want and don't want. So at that time, it got a bit meta that I saw the cards. But it's been weeks, and I have shuffled these cards over and over, so I don't remember what is in here anymore. So you need a deck of playing cards, including the jokers. You need a 6-sided die. You need a pool of tokens, and you need a journal or device to record your experiences. We are here. We are recording the experience here. And of course, you can also order a custom deck of cards from hatchlingsgames.co.uk. And I took some of the art that is used on the deck of cards, and you see it here in the overlay, and it's just beautiful. I really recommend, if you have the means to support Rich in his games, treat yourself. Before the game begins, I have to choose one of 4 dowsings, and this will dictate which egg I'm going to find. And you can pick one of 4 dowsings, 4 eggs that represent by the seasons. Spring, summer, autumn, and winter. I have chosen spring, meaning the goal of the game essentially is within these cards, somewhere in them is the ace that I want to find. In this case, it's going to be the Ace of Hearts. And let me read you quickly what that entails. The Ace of Hearts, the dowsing, represents water, spring, and community. And the description given says, with its mother's last breath, the egg was dropped into the river, where it traveled downstream, away from the hands of the Mekarch's soldiers. They gave chase along the riverbank, but the water seemed to caress the egg and rage up to soak its pursuers. Their armor grew heavy, and the roots sank into the mud. Soon the egg was out of sight, along with any chance of promotion. So our story takes place in the spring, and the egg I am going after as a dowser has been carried away in a river. As I shuffled these cards out, there is a chance there is another ace in here. If I uncover this ace, the other ace that is not the one I'm looking for, that might also affect my story. Okay. And how this game works is, let me get my mouse up on Roll20. Excuse me, so many screens. Here we go. this is my Dowser. Again, this is art taken from the reviewer's copy of the game that I have received. And my goal is to start at a sanctuary, so a safe place, my camp where my other fellow Dowsers might be located. And at the opposite end of a potential journey, way over here, is another sanctuary. And as I go through each card and flip them over, that will determine what happens on my journey. As I move from card to card to go into a small snippet of the adventure of the journey, I may use, lose, or gain resources. And the resources I have here are being represented by these little crystal tokens I have here. I'm starting with 10 tokens. The book recommends the standard B8, but having watched other playthroughs, they all recommend start with 10 or maybe 12. So I'm starting with 10. Let's see how that goes. And every time I move in a direction, so diagonally up, down, left, and right, I get to flip the card, read the narration, and tell me whether or not I lose or gain resources. If I have lost all my resources before I find the egg I'm looking for, then that this playthrough is over, or rather, the story says I did not find the egg this time. So maybe next time we'll find out, who knows. If I find another ace, so a different egg, I don't know what state it might be in, that can also help me gain resources. Let's see what else it's telling me. Everything is giving me prompts. So that's going to be determined by the cards I flip over. Resources, which are the little gems here. And this is determining on what cards I encounter, so that's my little bit of spoiler. And once I uncover the Ace of Hearts, in this case, wherever it is underneath these cards, I can take the egg back to Sanctuary and narrate how the egg and I are going to get along, how the little dragonling inside might be raised or immediately surrendered or might gain understanding. Who knows? I'd really like to know. I think that's really cute. All right. And with that being said, I think we should start playing. And thank you everyone who is here so far. And I hope you look forward to this as much as I am. So here we go. Okay. According to the game, the very first movement I have is free. So essentially, I would move my Dowser to the first card, which is here. Who is my Dowser? I'm just gonna have my Dowser represent myself in the first person. I, me, we, same pronoun, she, her. It is springtime and my band of Dowsers, I don't know how much of an organization, how loose we are, if this is something finite, how this camp operates, but we've determined that an egg has been carried downriver, and I think that's one of the best places to start. We do know that the monarch is also after these eggs. This egg in particular, its soldiers, their soldiers are hunting for it, and they could resort to violence. I will say this story is family friendly. Violence is implied, harm is implied, but there isn't going to be any sort of gore or fighting. That represents all very narrative, but there is some sort of danger and resources. For me, as a Dowser, I guess that is my will to go on, my faith that I can successfully take on this task, that maybe I will encounter other allies as I hunt for this egg. That could also be represented by the food I'm carrying, by drinking water. Well, I am following a river, and I'm going to say that this is fresh water, but maybe hanging around a river too much might attract attention. And most of all, since I do belong to this organization that is standing against the monarch, I am equipped with a literal dowsing crystal, which is supposed to animate and activate whenever I am near a dragon egg. So being spotted, questioned, and potentially having this crystal found on my person is not good. So I need to avoid soldiers, avoid suspicion, keep low, and find this egg, and hopefully get this egg back to our sanctuary, to our like-minded people, so that it can be raised safely or given back to a parent if one still exists. So every time I move to a card, I expend 1 resource, but the first move is free. So just one more time to shuffle, because again, I don't know what's under these cards. Move that there. Let's move that there. Feeling about this one and that one. This one's giving me the tingles. This one's up to no good. That one's trouble. For sure. Okay. So, I depart from my sanctuary. It is an early spring day. The sort of day that one deceptively thinks that because it's spring, one can be out in comfortable, loose clothing. But I have my gear, I have my hood and cloak, I have leather gear that allows me to move nimbly, move swiftly, protect me from the elements. I will say that beyond my brown colored hood and cloak, the rest of my clothing is a very pale green, hopefully with the intention to blend in with the new shoots that are growing in after this harsh winter. There is still a combination of quite some mud. The grass hasn't grown as high yet, so I have to be mindful of where to hide. So with that being said, let's flip over the first card. And that is a 7 of clubs. And in the booklet, it tells you everything that happens on every card you flip. So if I flip over to the 7 of clubs, it is read as negative chaos. It would help if it didn't have so many arms. A machine malfunctions, causing havoc in a nearby settlement. Oh dear. So let's narrate it this way. The lead I have was that the egg was washed down this river. And of course, many settlements and homes and towns are built on the banks of rivers. It's a form of transportation. It's what irrigates your crops. It's what people nearby is where people build, hollow out their wells. Following a river is following life and following a lot of people. So I'm following this river, keeping along one side of the bank, trying to see how wide one side is so I can cross it efficiently. I gamble, keep to one side, and I notice people on the road, on the river road, walking past me, looking harrowed. And I stop to ask them what happens. And they sort of just kind of shake their head sadly, tell me it's in my best interest to not go to that town over there. But I have to follow this river. I have to get past this town because I don't know where this egg may have ended up. Maybe this egg washed up near this town, or a soldier picked it up and took it there. So I have to go to this town no matter what. And as I arrive there, the machinery that this empire, that this kingdom relies on, having been devoid for quite some time of their raw source of power, is starting to break down. It's starting to hurt people, starting to cause havoc. What kind of functions could that be? Let's say this is an agrarian sort of town, and there was some sort of enchanted machinery that helped harvest, or rather sow, because this is spring, to sow seeds. And instead of moving up and down the field sowing seeds with its large machinery, it started sort of rolling back into the sides of barns, breaking apart beams, harming buildings. People are very scared to get near because these are large machines with long wielding, magically enchanted arms, a combination of wood and metal. People's livelihoods are being hurt because their barns are where they're keeping their animals, where they're keeping feeds, they're keeping resources, and they're being destroyed. People can't approach them because of fear of these machines. And the monarch has sent in troops to keep an eye and try to tamper down these machines. The priority are these machines and ensuring that the machines themselves are not harmed. The monarchy doesn't care less about the people, their livelihoods. They're going to squeeze out their taxes no matter what. So, as a Dowser, my charge is to find the dragon, but also to take a stand against this regime. So, I can't leave well enough alone. And I rush into the town, go into the periphery where these machines are the most prevalent. And I have to spend quite some days at this point helping to round back the animals that these people rely on, round up sheep and cows and goats. There might still be animals coming out of their winter hibernation hungry. These people's livelihoods are going to get eaten, and it takes me quite some time to round them up, to try to corral people to a different place, to try to sabotage these machines. Down with these machines, they can be repaired later. These people's lives matter most. And because this is a rather labor intensive, this will cost me resources. And in this case, it will cost me negative 1d6. So I get to roll. I'm going to roll because it lets me do that. It costs me 3 resources. So I lose 3 resources. 1, 2, 3. So my search for the dragon egg is a bit sidetracked at this moment, but we need to also ensure that there's a good world for this dragon to potentially be born into. Hey Caro, no, you're never late. Thank you for stopping by. All right, let's move to the next event. And remember, we're looking for the Ace of Hearts. There's another sanctuary that way. I want to essentially... the goal is not to get to the other sanctuary, to get to the other Joker, but rather to uncover that Ace of Hearts wherever it may be underneath. So I do have to rather look. So let's just go to the next one. I'm going to put my Dowser myself over here, and I'm going to move to the next event. Let's see what this is. The 10 of Clubs. The 10 of Clubs is something positive. And the card reads, "Thank mana for oblivious merchants." What is steal? Description reads, "You come across a traveling merchant machines who agrees to a beneficial trade." All right. So it's been some days where I am literally rounding up farm animals. So these people aren't stripped of their livelihoods, their agrarian livelihoods in this town. And after gaining the trust of the townspeople doing this, like the really blue collar working people, maybe 1 or 2 of them I got to know, and we felt we could trust each other. And I learned that quite a few of them were sympathetic to my cause, were not pleased with the direction the monarchy was going into, and was able to send me on our way and tell me, "You have allies. Look for this entity you might come across the road as you follow the river. I know we give these machines a bad rap, but this one, I think you might find it useful." So they sent me along my way. I have some great extra dried meats. I have some hardtack bread. I have a spring in my step, even though those days really took a lot out of me. I've heard stories about having wrangled sheep. That sounds exhausting. Sounds smelly. Sounds tiring. Sounds loud. Those animals bleating in your ear. So I leave the town, determined to continue following the river after I've determined that there is no further news of the egg here. Fairly confident. And along the road, I find a traveling merchant machine. And this is sort of this, I'm going to say this large, almost spherical machine with lots of little arms that look like levers that are constantly going up and down. I'm going to say like the top part of this machine opens and closes. It almost looks like the lids of eyes. And as it kind of approaches, it opens up various little cubby holes along its spherical body, and inside you see bundles of rope. It closes and spins. It opens another one. You see some more jerky, which I luckily already have. It spins and closes, and another little cubby hole opens, and you see I see lots of sundries and lots of little things in here. And I'm looking, and I'm like, the townspeople said I can get a good deal from this. Well, I don't really want to engage in capitalism to help this kind of monarch. I don't want it to get a red cent from me. But I also have to look at the bigger picture. Okay, what can I give? What do I need that I definitely can benefit from this machine? Let me think. It's very muddy. And one of the things that I really need on this trip is willpower. And willpower is diminished, scientific fact, by wet feet. So as the merchant machine spins, I see a bundle of knitted, darned socks, like a full bundle. Let's say like a set of 3 or 4 thick woolen knitted socks. And I sort of like gesture and stop at the machine. I'm like, I want this transaction. And then another little cubby hole opens, and I guess this is the one that says it wants payment. And I'm familiar with these machines because this is the world I live in, and usually it marks what you need to pay. And as the little cubby hole opens for insert your currency, your payment here, there's nothing written. Look around. There's no soldier around. Just malfunctioning. I put my hand towards the cubby hole with the socks, and it sort of like half closes, and the cubby hole waiting for payment kind of opens and closes, saying like, pay money. Look around. Just to test it out, I grab a pebble, and I put the pebble in that cubby hole for the payment. And I gesture for it to close the little latch. And I stand back. The machine kind of beeps and boops and whirls and seems to swallow the pebble, the payment, and opens up the cubby hole with the socks, and a little platform pulls it out, and I can take my socks. I just got socks, fresh, dry, soft socks for a stone. Yep, not asking more socks. I need these socks. And I gain 2 resources. So copy, paste. 1, 2. Yay! And before anyone gets the wiser, I'm gonna run. I'm gonna run. All right, where's my Dowser headed? Yeah, okay, now I picked the direction. Like, what if the card is here and decided to go up or down? No. Can I sneak? I'm metagaming. I kind of am. Let's see what happens. Let me keep going. So I'm gonna go here, and let's see what happens. Oh my. This is not the ace I'm looking for. Let's scroll a bit. Diamonds. excuse me while I'm scrolling, because this just kind of shocked me a bit. Like, oh my goodness. As I run down that path away from the merchant machine, and it continues on the path away from me. I travel 2-3 days. I mostly stick alongside the river, but eventually the road winds away into east and west, away from the river. Could be towards some forest. I see signs demarcating other towns and opposite away from the river, but enough to stick to the river. But as I'm walking, I can just barely spot on the horizon. And that looks like a garrison. I should pretend like I'm a traveler going elsewhere, not following the river for any other reason. And as I follow the road a little bit away from the river into this large brush, I come across past this little patch of forest. I see that a lot of trees are singed as I walk, like, let's say half an hour in. And suddenly the cover of trees that I had opens up completely, and I am inside. I'm suddenly faced with like this almost like a little crater of broken, burnt trees and machinery that is, I don't know how old this is. And I just kind of look over, make sure I feel like no one's watching. I hear birds, because if the birds suddenly fly up and fly away, I know maybe something's in the area. But I hear nature. I'm feeling on my own, and I traverse through this battlefield, I guess this is. But there aren't any paths here, so something must have fallen out of the sky and just destroyed this patch of forest. I see metal plates. I see broken branches. I see wires. I see burn marks of what looks to be intense heat, edges of metal sort of almost looking softened and melted down. As I'm sort of picking through, I grab a big stick and I'm just kind of moving the bigger parts aside. I hear a very fragile crack, and my heart sinks. And I'm moving further down into the debris, and I pull out what seems to be a large, thin, speckled piece of shell. And I'm going to say it's like the size of an A4 sheet of paper. And my heart sinks further as I sort of just step back and put that bit of eggshell down, and I start sort of from the periphery pulling apart the debris instead of standing directly on top of it. And every time I pull it, my teeth are clenched, like no, be careful. And after an hour or two of working underneath this fiery mess of technological garbage, I see more of these fragile bits of eggshell. And as I start collecting them, I start to try to put the bigger pieces together. And I'm like, this was a dragon egg. I have discovered a dragon egg, but not the one I am looking for. So I'm feeling incredibly saddened, but at the same time relieved that that the egg I'm looking for still probably, I hope, exists. So what is it I do exactly when I find an ace? Okay, I will gain resources because all dragon eggs are sacred, and when revered will bestow upon me a blessing. So this is in the back of my mind, but there is also some immense sadness with me that it didn't have to go this way. So did the kingdom just sort of launch some giant hunk of metal aiming to destroy this place? Did they know an egg was here? Did they purposely destroy the thing they are seeking? Or was it just wanton violence? Did someone take a stand here and this was where they met their end? I don't know. I collect as many eggshells as I try to find. As I dig in deeper, part of me is hoping, praying I don't find the remnants of it inside an egg, but this fire seems to have burnt so strong, and these eggshells are still pretty white. But despite my careful digging, I find nothing. I collect all the egg pieces and I move back into the cover of the trees. I wait till nightfall and I start moving back to the riverbank. And hearing this story about how the river had carried away, protected the egg that I'm looking for. I don't know what religions or sort of mysticism exists in this world, but I think my Dowser would sort of go to the riverbank where the water meets the earth and sort of just to hollow out a muddy section and sort of just lays the eggshells in there very gently. The river can no longer take you away, but maybe the river can become your home now. I wish we had been there sooner for you. I'm so sorry. I will find your siblings so that no more of you have to meet this end. And with that, I cover the eggshells with the cool mud and the water that's sort of seeping around this little scoop I dug out. And I just sort of spend the night, not even camp, just lie down along my side. To anyone, I must look like a vagabond lying there. But I try to keep this egg company as the river makes it its new home. Hopefully, also a really big juxtaposition. It has somewhere cool and safe and flowing because it met its end in something violent and fiery. All right, poor egg. Oh my goodness. I believe I give myself some resources. Yeah. Okay. So mechanically, I'm gonna get 6 from this. 2, 3, 4. And if I'm wrong, I will delete them. That's why they're kind of off to the side there. I will move them back into view though now that I'm seeing they're a bit off the view. Okay, anyway. All right. Dawn has come. I did not sleep very well. But I have to make sure that the egg I'm looking for does not end this way. I am more determined than ever to find this egg and face whatever threats may come and ensure that the regime, the monarch's influence doesn't reverberate, because we need a safe place for this egg to be raised in. And I go into my bag and I pull on some dry socks. All right, so I'm gonna spend a resource to move. I think I didn't spend a resource. No, the first one was free. I'm gonna spend a resource to move. So, up, bye. What direction to go? We're gonna gamble. I'm gonna go up. I'm gonna go here. That one. 10 of Hearts. 10 of Hearts is listed as a positive event. The card description says, it's like they share a secret language. Description. You recruit a Dowser from a nearby settlement who has a special affinity with hatchlings. Nice. I follow the river. There is no more clear path. There's no more demarcated path along the river. And the river, I'm sure, gets very bendy. There's some rapids I have to kind of skirt around. And eventually the road that meandered away from the river meets back. And I find another small village. And this seems to be a village that is purely here to sell sundries. No, it's not even a village. It's literally just a sort of meeting of various caravans, various merchants, because it's a crossroads here. And their business is to travel from whatever town they're from, sit at this crossroads and make commerce with anyone passing by. And I do. And I'm thinking, I don't really need anything. My food was fairly stocked up. I could do with something fresh. My feet are dry, so it's very excellent. And as I'm just kind of sort of chit-chatting and making do with the merchants here, trying to just kind of hide the yeah, I'm just up for a walk. Where am I going? I'm going nowhere in particular, of course not. And as I'm talking, accidentally my arm sort of brushes my cloak aside, and I've made a very rookie mistake here, and my dowsing crystal was exposed to one of the people I was talking to. And the person I was talking to is a young individual who eyes just go like wide as saucers, looking where I have the crystal. And I deflect, and I just sort of continue talking. And I say, you know what? I'm gonna just take everything you have. I'm gonna give you all my money. That sound okay? And the individual just sort of like grabs my collar and pulls me to the side. And I'm like, can I go with this? Can just deflect, move on. I'm gonna run. I think I can run. And eventually, the individual, when we're away from this crossroads, looks around and pulls up a parchment from their pocket and has drawn on it the same insignia of this dowsing crystal. This is a symbol that our allies herald around. And I know I have here someone who at least presents that is on my side. And I got a good vibe from this person. We start talking, and I learned that this person has traveled to other settlements and has met with other dowsers and has expressed interest in wanting to join. They even expressed that they had the honor of meeting a hatchling, these incredibly rare, beautiful creatures, these reptilian winged babies who are the hope of our lands, so that one day we can take back the powers from this monarch, so that we can rekindle the relationship with the dragons. And these hatchlings are skittish creatures. They are, for all intents and purposes, they are baby dragons. They can be hard to handle, and it is said that they often choose people. And the individual is telling me that they locked eyes with the baby hatchling, and instantly they felt that they knew the hatchling's name. All hatchlings are given names by humans. They're like you would give a name to a dog. But the individual told me, it's like, I looked at them and I knew this hatchling had a name. And I can't, thinking of a name. Iris was the dragon's name that this individual instinctively knew just by looking at it. When people ask, no, we already named it Spot. No, the hatchling told me. I know what its name is. And as the individual was telling me this story, my dowsing crystal ever so gently pulses. which it only does in the vicinity of a dragon, of a living dragon egg. And I knew from that point on this individual was not lying. All right, you're one of us, I tell the individual. Give me your paper. And I scrawl on some very special code words that are unique to myself. Go to this town 4 days travel from here. Give this to them. We need you. Thank you for sharing your story. Go now. No, go now. Looks at me like, oh, okay, bye. And they just kind of pick up their wares that they had on this large bundle, and they start running in the direction. And I know that person can be trusted, and this gives me immense satisfaction and pride that, as difficult as this journey is, I'm not alone. There are other like-minded individuals, and together we're going to make a difference. And this experience gives me 2 effects. So I'm going to give myself 2 resources. 1, 2. Yay! All right. Cool story. I'm going to go here. Let's see what happens under this card. 6 of clubs. 6 of clubs, 6 of clubs. The 6 of clubs is a negative event. The card description says, I hope the thing chokes on it. The description. The machine guiding you through a swamp is dragged into the murk by a mutated creature. With the pep in my step, I continue following the river, again, away from any roads. And it's clear why roads aren't following this stretch of the river, because the land immediately becomes wet, boggy. The trees take on a distinctive, different, lower, thicker shape. And it is miserable trying to follow the river, which seems to have been absorbed by the land into this massive marsh. I know from maps that the river will continue after this swamp of marshland. But for now, the river just seems to widen and accept all the earth surrounding it in this long trek of wetness and misery. And I'm thinking about my poor, freshly knitted socks. And I have some machinery that the Dowsers are working on creating with the dragon magic's power, but without using the yolk magic that you must break into the egg to find. We're interested in working in tandem with the dragons, not abusing them to the point of their extinction. And let's say I have this cute little machine bauble. This is I can sort of pick up and float in front of me. And it is something that will tell me, the depth of the water. That would be really handy to have as I'm looking in a river, along a river for an egg, where it's safe to, swim in, where it's safe to cross, because you can't always see if the water is murky or moving quickly. And you shouldn't move into shallow water even if it's moving quickly, because that can still pull you under. So don't do that, PSA. So I take my little doodad and I float it out in front of me, and I'm following it, trying to keep to shallow paths along this marshland. And we're walking, and there are so many insects and bugs here. There is something buzzing by me at all times, and I'm really thankful I have a hood and cloak to just kind of keep on me. However, there is this one bug. It is a pretty big chonker of a bug, and it is brightly colored. And it seems to have taken offense with my little bauble. And as I'm walking and having this bauble float in front of me, this little flying insect just seems to like bzz, bzz, like attacking it from all sides, thinking like this is another insect or something, a threat to it, and just keeps knocking it over and over. And I'm constantly leaning over, like, shoot, go away. This thing is not giving up. These machines, these little inventions, aren't that they're not that strong. Some of them are fragile. Some of them are like prototypes of their kind. And with enough hits of this big, angry, shelled, flying insect, I noticed that the bauble is starting to like, it's not floating straight anymore. It's kind of like, I hear little metallic bits rattling against the little metal frame it has, and I'm like, oh no, are you And half an hour later, as we keep walking, that bauble floats less and less, and I'm just looking like, meow, and eventually just kind of floats downward and downward. And now I have a metal ball doodad sitting in the mud, whereas it was once a thing that could guide me to shallow waters and keep me away from deep waters. Crud. Okay, this costs me 1 effect, so I will delete a resource. Oh no. Okay, I realized that the socks I have are goners. These boots are holding on, but not for long. Maybe if I just... Should I keep my boots on as I go in through the marsh? No, there might be something spiky underneath. You know what? I'm going to take off my boots, and we're going to do this socked. Squish, 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 squish. Ugh. All right. Let's go into this one. Move my Dowser over here. I am also going to hydrate. Where is this other card? 6 of diamonds. The 6 of diamonds will dictate a negative event happens. The card reads, they may be in need, but so is everyone on this wasteland. Description. You notice your rations are mysteriously dwindling over a few days. Blech. I continue following this bog marshland, marching through in just my socked feet with my boots tied over my shoulder, because if I just step down with my boots, my boot gets stuck and my foot gets pulled out. So this is no good. And I'm hoping that the thickness of the yarn is going to keep my foot from like any sharp bits underneath, but I just can't fathom the idea of my bare foot being in this mud. Ugh. Eventually the marshland gets wetter, and there's a semblance of the river starting to come back instead of just mud. And I'm almost knee-thigh deep in some places where this river gets really, really wide. And luckily, I do see a raised settlement. There are wooden poles thereon built, these wooden walkways, and these other wooden little huts around them. And I have encountered a very isolated fishing village, and there are some boats around made for a shallow water movement, and I very gratefully clamber up, half swimming now, and try to find lodgings, even if just to, like, you know, wring out my boots and my poor socks. And everyone here looks down on their luck. This is a place where there is no one else with any sort of machinery that this kingdom has built to enrich themselves. They are living completely off the land and in an area where the land is very inhospitable and harsh. People here look weathered. People here They don't look like there's much joy or other activities to keep them happy. There's not really sunshine and fields of grass. This is where they live. And everyone sort of has that sort of mean look about them. You know, you walk into a bar and then everyone just has like that sort of down under look, criminal look at you, seeing like, fresh meat to take advantage of. I definitely on edge. And there are definitely, as I walk up and down this the wooded paths that are elevated over the water, there are some people who just kind of like, you know, crowd around me and ask sort of annoying questions, almost harassing me, like to the point of distracting me. It's like, what's all these flies doing in your hair? Because like I've been walking through the mud. You smell awful. Do you have what's that second nose on your face? Because I'll have like a big mosquito bite, like that's encompassing the side of my cheek. And they're just being like really mean. And I'm like feeling really defeated, tired, and I don't even say anything as these people just kind of like swarm around me, putting in their face against mine. And later that night, as I find a place to rest, I get really overcharged somewhere for a clean bed. I noticed that some of the things in my outer pockets have been liberated from where they were. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. At the same time, it's like they are down on their luck. They are responsible for their actions, and their actions are not correct. But would they have had to resort to such behavior? Would they have had better opportunities had the kingdom shared their richest wealth and knowledge more equitably among their land? I guess I can do without for now. I lose 1 resource. I can't wait to get out of here. I'm gonna do just that. Luckily, the path out of this elevated little settlement continues along the water for a bit, and I'm able to hire a boat for an exorbitant cost to take me to the banks, where finally the river narrows a bit to that familiar river, away from this marshland, where it continues down as a more recognizable river. Let's see what happens under this card. I'm just going to scoot you here. Flip. 10 of clubs. 10 of clubs. 10 of clubs. I think I misread the suit. So I'm just going to read the... There we go. This is a positive outcome. Reading, just called me the Wolf Whisperer. Description: you come across a stray wolf cub and raise it along your hatchlings. It eventually becomes a loyal companion. I found a dog. Okay. I get ferried to a proper riverbank where there is solid ground with green grass next to the water, and the boat person goes away, and I'm like, good riddance, I'll never see you again. What are you going to spend your money in that town on anyway? Really, there's nothing for you to buy there. Bye. Luckily, my boots have dried out, and I pull out my spare pair of socks, and I'm in a good mood because I have now dry boots and dry socks on. And this is a very much wild part of the river. There's more hills here. I'm in a sort of valley where there's high elevation on both sides. There's pines everywhere. There's bits of naked rock jutting out as well. And it's quite some challenge to follow that river, because I'm either in the water or I have to be up some distance elevated on the hill. And as I'm walking, it sort of gets late, and in the distance I hear that familiar "ow" calls of wolves, and I'm like, this is not good, this is not safe. I'm going to climb a tree and hope for the best, that I don't find a bear up in here. So as I climb up my tree and make a very riffraff sort of camp, I sort of try to tie a hammock up there. I keep very still as all my lights are out, and I eventually do see a pack of wolves underneath me in the tree, from my place in the tree. And I count. There's quite a lovely pack, and there are some wolf pups there. Glorious. They're beautiful. I'm glad I can look at them down from up here and not look at them down there as I'm potentially their meal, because that wasn't going to work out. And I watched them go by, and a couple of minutes later, I notice a lone, smaller pup kind of meander by, sniffing around. And I cock my head and I'm like, is this pup part of the pack? It's very separated. That's unusual. Just kind of look at it curiously as the pup continues down. I hear the ows in a first further direction, and I know the wolf pack has gone further on. And I watch the pup continue down that direction towards those sounds. And I catch him asleep. And that instinct to catch yourself as you're falling is constant while I'm up in this tree, because every time the wind blows, the branches creak. I know they're going to hold me up, but the creaking just like wakes me up, and I'm like, oh, okay. I know it's hours later based on the position of the moon. I just sort of look around, and hours later, I see down again that one scrawny wolf pup alone, sniffing at the base of the tree. And at this point now, I can't sleep anymore. I'm perched up, and I'm just watching this little pup go like 20 meters away, sniff around, sit, go another 20 meters in another direction. It seems lost. It's alone. I'm thinking to myself, is it looking for that pack? Why isn't that pack looking for it? This is the runt. Winter was harsh. Maybe they determined they couldn't. Okay. I'm sorry, little one, but nature has to take its course sometimes. And I roll over, kind of wishing, I hope this puppy catches a break, and I go to sleep. And I wake up the next morning again with that jolt. I'm still in the tree. I look down and I don't see that pup anywhere. I crawl down the tree, taking my hammock with it, taking my supplies. I don't hear any wolf calls. And I continue down what I believe to be following the riverside. And about an hour later, I see in a big pile of leaves that wolf pup on its side, sleeping but with the smallest, littlest, shallowest breaths. And from a glance, I can see that this puppy has not had the support of its pack. It's a bit emaciated. It's weakened. My heart sinks, and this little puppy sleeping in this pile of leaves, I just go pull out some jerky and I start chewing on it, like really, and like start wetting this jerky. I immediately, while this puppy is sleeping and it's not moving, as I just lie down next to it with my arm over its side, and from above I open its snout and I just kind of push the jerky that I pre-chewed in there. And I hear the whining of this puppy. Okay, puppy. You caught your break. You caught me. And that is how I have a doggo companion now. And it's going to join me on my adventures. And I gain 2 resources because pupper. 1, 2. Yes. Oh, I love it. I got a pupper. I'm so happy. Right, let's go a little bit. Let's go 1 more card, and then I'm gonna take a breaky break. I'm gonna zigzag. So I'm gonna go over here. Okay, so that's costing me 1 resource. So, delete. Did I spend a resource moving up here? Yeah, I hope I did. Okay, just moving the resource I already have. Alright, excuse the housekeeping. There we go. Alright, did I just delete 1? I don't remember. I will delete 1 for good measure because I honestly don't remember. Okay. Flipping a card. Queen of Diamonds. What's up with that? The Queen of Diamonds is a positive event, which reads, very few Dowsers are entrusted with such a gift. The description. The Mother Autumn Dragon gives you a dowsing crystal connected to her family. All right. Oh, and I found the Ace of Diamonds earlier. Oh, that's so pretty. That's such a pretty connection. Okay, let's go with that. Eventually, I clear that heavily wooded area, and eventually I clear this elevated area, and the land around the river flattens out. All the while, I'm just dipping in and out near the river, looking for an egg, or looking for the remnants of an egg. Eventually, as it becomes easier for me to engage with the river, having my loyal pupper following me now. I haven't named the pupper yet because I feel this is a wild creature, and as wonderful as I find this furry companion, and as sad as I would see it leave me one day, I think I would also be happy if it were to leave me and, survive and thrive on its own as the beautiful, majestic wild creature that it is. So in that sense, I'm hesitant to name it. But I am still happy for its company. And this puppy seems to have no problem being near me in the water, jumps in a lot. There's once or twice where I'm like, that's a little deep, I have to go dig you out now. It's still a big puppy. I'm guessing a wolf puppy, even if it's a runt. It's going to be kind of yay big as a big puppy. As I'm kind of half saving my puppy from a deeper part of the water and half enjoying that I get to have this sort of nice memory, this nice time. Having a bit of joy and relaxation in these waters. Being thankful that I have a companion. My dowsing crystal suddenly starts glowing. And I think, oh, I found an egg. And I look around. And I don't see an egg. And I feel very confused as I pull my pupper under my arm, go to the riverbank. I'm just stumped. I was told that the crystal lights up when there is dragon essence nearby. Why don't I see this egg? I was just kind of thinking to myself, rubbing my chin. This giant shadow crosses over me very quickly. And out of the periphery of my eye, I see like this giant orange scaled wing. And I am first terrified, then in awed, and then without caring, without seeing if there's anyone else, other humans around me, I immediately pull out my crystal, my dowsing crystal, and I hold it up. And I pray that this is a dragon has found me. It needs to know that I'm on its side. I'm on your side. Please look at this crystal and don't eat me. Don't incinerate me, please. And I see that shadow come back. And I have my eyes closed and I am trembling at this point, just putting all my faith in this crystal. The puppy has gone between my legs, and to its credit, is terrified with its tail between its legs, but is not moved from my side. And I feel a little bit of strength while I am shaking. My eyes are closed as I hear this giant thud behind me. It's like the land shakes. All the loose rocks and pebbles jump up and down. And there's this sort of wave of energy of the force of it pressure of it landing, and all the grass is just kind of pushed out. And at this point I sort of dare turn around to where I know I'm going to be facing a dragon, and I open my one eye, and in front of me is this beautiful bronze orange copper dragon whose scales look like autumn who look like aspen, ginkgo leaves. Ginkgo leaves very much look like the clubs like on the suit of cards, wide at the bottom and pointed upwards. And there, this immense dragon is covered in these beautiful scales that look like ginkgo leaves. And I immediately recognize this to be the dragon of autumn. Then the dragon and I lock eyes without having shared a word verbally or mentally. I just know. I know. And this dragon knows that I know. This dragon was the parent to the egg I had found in that forest clearing underneath the charred debris. This dragon knows by looking at me that I had tried to give the egg some comfort, whereas it has received nothing but destruction and pain. And just by looking at each other, we know. We know each other. We know our goals. We know our values. And we both exude a sense of gratitude to each other. The parent dragon is grateful that I was able to show reverence and compassion towards the egg that I found. And I'm feeling grateful I'm not being eaten. But I'm in awe of its might and its power, and I'm also grateful for its allyship, for its confidence, for its trust. The dragon now gets up and its wings start beating. And I just know that right now I have to close my eyes. And I do. And I close my eyes and I hear and I feel the massive body lift up. And I can hear a direction is going. But with my eyes closed, I can't be entirely certain. And I just know I have to keep my eyes closed for its own safety, so that its location can remain secret, because it's also being hunted. I know to keep my eyes closed. And I also know when it is time to open my eyes. I opened my eyes and there was a dragon here. The grass is completely flattened. Any twigs and branches completely snapped. There's giant dragon shape whole imprint in the land here, but I'm sure it'll come back up. And some twinkle catches my eye in the middle of this giant dragon-sized imprint, and I walk towards it, and in it I see this beautiful orange red, cool to the touch crystal. I know that this is a very special dragon dowsing crystal that is attuned to the power of the autumn dragon. I take it with much gratitude and reverence, and I elect to take some twine, take some leather straps, and very carefully bind it several times. And I elect to bind it directly to my arm underneath my clothing, so that it can always guide the direction I need to go, so that I feel its coolness, but its confidence and its essence of change going through me, which are all symbolic of autumn. I've been blessed, and I gain 4 effect. Oops, I made that bigger instead. 2, 3, 4. Yay! Alrighty. My goodness. Okay, we've uncovered quite a few cards. I'm going to mind my pacing, and also I'm going to take a quick break to refill my thing because I've been talking a lot. I need to hydrate. And thank you everyone who's been joining us. I really appreciate you being here. We're going to continue this story and see how it goes from here. So I will catch you in 10-ish minutes. All right then, see you in a bit, toodles. And we're back. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you if you are just coming in. Thank you if you're watching the VOD. Thank you for lurking. Thank you for chatting. Thank you for your nice comments. Judica Fortis, I appreciated having you for however long you were. That's very kind of you. Thank you. And we are back. We are continuing our game of Dragon Dowser, a solo TTRPG by Hatchling Games. This game was provided to us by Rich for reviewing and playing purposes to help promote the now past very successful Kickstarter. And definitely check out Dragon Dowser and all of Rich's wonderful games. They all seem to have this very Ghibli-esque vibes. They're all very family friendly. One other very well known one I have to say is his Inspire Isles, which is a game that embeds within it teaching you sign language. That is a pretty kick-ass premise, so I really encourage you to check that out. Maybe one day we'll play that here at HoT Hotels. I might already have a copy lying around, who knows? Anyway, for Dragon Dowser, the goal of the story is to go through the events that are underneath these cards in the hopes of finding the Ace of Hearts. That symbolizes an intact dragon egg that I, as a dowser, someone who stands against the tyranny of the kingdom, hopes to find, rear, to create hope for the people against this tyrannical ruler who aims to break the eggs for immense, albeit short-term, power gains, and also to mend the relationships that humanity has had with the dragons who lent their power in form of the eggs in the first place. And so far, we discovered the importance of dry socks. We have found the remnants of a different egg, not the one we're looking for that made us sad, but its parents came by and bestowed upon us a blessing in thanks for that. And we also picked up a wolf pupper. We have a wolf puppy. And also to reiterate, it's spring season. And my Dowser, I, me, she, her, are following a river because that is the lead we have while keeping away from soldiers and agents of this monarchy, and doing also what I can to help the people, make them sympathetic to us, to our cause. So with that, let's continue along. All right. I seem to be zigzagging. I realize that my zigzagging will lead poorly because if I want to move backwards, it also costs me resources. So I am going to dip diagonally. I understand I can go diagonally. So I'm going to lift this card. Let's see what's here. And I cannot see it because it's just a screen. There we go. A Jack of Hearts. What does that mean? The Jack of Hearts is a positive event. Nice. With every reunion, a step towards peace. I return an adolescent spring dragon. Oh my goodness. Okay. I cut that description off because I want to narrate what happens here. Sorry, and moving also cost me 1 resource, so let's get rid of that resource. There we go. I did mention that it is spring here. During the this is when the story takes place, during this spring season. I'm following this very windy river, occasionally dipping into it where it's shallow, where it's safe to do so, checking to see if there is an egg that has, caught along a bend, been tangled in some seaweed or other roots at the bottom, or worst case scenario, if I have encountered eggshells, or if I have encountered a settlement that someone else may have found an egg, or even news that the monarch's guards were here and had found an egg. I need to find this egg at all costs. There are dragons in this world still, and their existence is a tenuous one, because it's not just that their eggs are being sought after by the monarch, but their yolks, before they can grow into these beautiful hatchlings, their yolks are being broken open for a burst of short-gain power, immense short-gain power. So dragons' existence itself is being threatened here. I come across a medium-sized town, and through its networks, I learn that there is a community of like-minded people here, of Dowsers, people like me who are committed to standing up against this monarch, the tyrannical rule, their use of machines to empower themselves. And I learned that there is a meeting of them in some nearby caves. And I wait till it's dark, and I go with my new wolf pupper companion. Let's say this wolf is a very dark slate gray, like stands out really amongst other wolves. Let's say the pack was a mixture of, the usual steel gray kind of colors. This one's like a slate dark gray. Unnamed because the less attachments I have to this pupper, maybe the more likely one day it'll go back to the wild. But for now, we have chosen each other and we will take care of each other. I go to these caves, some distance beyond this medium-sized town, and I tell the pupper, stand guard, sit. We've been working on commands with a lot of positive reinforcement. I do go through my rations more quickly though, because it's a growing pupper. And pupper does as told, sits. It looks very proud doing so. I go into the caves. I see that there are torches and sconces lighting the path. and I see other individuals with similar cloak and hood as I do. And I kind of give my tentative nod. Every now and then, when questioned, I do show the principal dragon dowsing crystal I hold, which is this cold, not cold, I would say lukewarm, glowing blue one, which symbolizes the spring, the change of the egg I'm after for a spring dragon. I go in and I see a lot of other individuals sort of huddled around, looking anxious, looking pensive, and I ask what's going on here. And I hear that the time has come to reunite a family, and I'm elated because this happens very rarely nowadays. Dowsers go out looking for eggs, rear hatchlings, in the hope that one day they can reunite them with their parents, who don't always make themselves known in this world because they and their clutches are always being hunted. So it's up to these dowsers, these communities, to help hide, protect, and rear young dragons. And I'm elated. That's wonderful. Oh, you think I'll be around for the reunification, I say? And they ask me, have you met an adult dragon recently? Yes, I answered, and jaws all collectively drop. And then their jaws snap back up, and they immediately turn all to each other away from me. And I'm like, I genuinely did not mean to brag. I'm sorry. It was scary. It was life-changing, but it was still a lot, immense. And I'm trying to tone myself down. I'm trying to ooh my experience. And they immediately point at me and they're like, then you can do it. Do what? I ask. Take charge of the unification. Me? And I am essentially tasked with bringing an adolescent young dragon back to its family. But I have to find another egg. And they all assure me, tell us what you know. We're going to keep an eye out in this area, and we're going to find clues for you. So when you pick up your trail, you will be not much hindered. We respect your journey, but you have to also respect that given your recent experience, you are the most suited for this. And what matters is bringing these dragons back together. And they're not leaving me out in the lurch. They are going to pick up local investigations of me if the monarchs have found traces of this egg I'm hunting. They're going to do that legwork for me. I will be delayed by not that much because of this help. And I'm not a dragon expert. I'm not the chosen one. But it's pretty cool to be bringing back a hatchling, an adolescent now, to its family. Where is it? I ask. And they lead me deeper into the caves, and in this immense cavern, I see the size of, I'm gonna say a shed, like a garden shed, the kind you can fit like a couple of bicycles into, and like rakes and stuff. An adolescent dragon, and it is a spring dragon, similar to the kind I hope to find and one day rear for myself as well. It has teal turquoise shining scales, and you know it's an adolescent not just because of its size, but because that beautiful shining blue water-like color is starting to turn green, to turn into that green of fresh buds, fresh shoots. And I enter, and it's well lit with sconces, with torches. And I look at this dragon like, oh. And we look at each other. And in that moment, where we connect our consciousnesses. Again, there's no verbal words, there's no telepathic words in that sense spoken, but we just know. We know we are able to trust each other. We know that we will be on a journey, and we know that there are bigger things to come. All right. When do I leave? I ask. Right before dawn would be best. In fact, like a few hours before, so you have the cover of night. All right, where's the parent? We don't know, but you have to go now. There have been troops in the area. Crud, I think to myself. I am given some leads saying that a dragon is likely attached or can perhaps locate its young, but doesn't dare venture out unless it deems it safe to do so or it can defend itself. And with the monarch's guards always after dragon eggs, always out to test their machinery powered by the yolks of the dragon's eggs, they're very skittish creatures nowadays. And I'm told a spring dragon has been seen several hours north of here. There is a glen if you cross the forest, and we think that is a safe place to pick up traces of the spring dragon. Off you go. Which dawn is in a few hours, or I have even less than that to get ready. And I'm given some very hefty pats on the back, like, you got this. There you go. I feel the weight of that responsibility. I feel the weight of their very heavy arm slaps on my back. And I wonder how I'm going to explain this to the pupper. Oh, the pupper has seen a dragon. Maybe they'll get along. That'd be so cute. Yes. As the barricades, the doors that had been closing off this part of the cave have to be removed, because the dragon was brought in here as freshly hatched from its egg, much smaller state, and now is the size of a shed. So it doesn't fit through these doors anymore, so those have to be removed. And I get the sense, or I know rather, that this dragon hasn't seen the outside world yet. Has been reared in the safety, but also in the darkness, in the closeness of that cave. This is its first foray with fresh air, and I can imagine a young dragling is very tempted to fly and go off, but we looked at each other. We know. And we travel quickly before we see the first rays of light in the horizon towards that forest where there is to be a glen. And the adolescent dragon sort of just sinks its body down, its neck down, flattening itself as much as it can, and lets me lead it towards this forest where to this glen I know I have to wait for the dragon parent. While we're quickly moving in that direction, my wolf pupper is in front of me, seems to be scouting ahead and circling, seems to be coming back to me, looking up sort of to say like, yeah, it's okay, and then runs back off. Every time my pupper sort of circles around back, the pupper also kind of looks at the adolescent dragon behind us. And I almost get the sense that the pupper is a bit jealous. Like, the pupper had all my attention, and now I'm giving my attention to the dragon behind me. And I sense a little bit of frustration, a little bit of nipping. And the adolescent dragon is just so curious, but also gentle with the pupper. Seems to sort of like lightly bap it with its not with its claws, but with the scaled part of its arm before its claws, while the pupper just kind of tests its limits. But they seem to have an understanding. This dog is leading us we are its pack now. Its pack has increased by one. This pupper knows it has to protect its pack. And the pupper, seeing that its pack is growing, feels an increased sense of responsibility. I think this pupper will get on well with hatchlings from here on. We cross many, many fields to that forest opening, and we get to the bush line, just as the first rays are coming up, where we wouldn't have had any sort of cover. And we make our way in as morning starts to settle in, and all that morning spring mist rolls in. And you see all these sort of dots of dew on all the leaves and plants nearby as we make through this little forest. And I hear a trickle of water, and eventually before us we see a spring. We see this singular spring of this beautiful, deep sapphire blue water. And I look in, and even without putting my hand there, I know this water is freezing cold. This water comes from deep, deep within the earth. And it is so crystalline, beautiful, and pure. There's a little bit of mist rolling over. There's some early morning white butterflies scattering about. And it looks safe and looks secure. And I sit and I wait. I pat Pupper's head. I tell it, good job. And I look at the dragon, and without saying a word verbally or telepathically, I sort of share what kind of place the world is. I have the feeling that it has some questions about how things work. How is it that birds fly? The dragon seems to understand it has wings, but it hasn't flown yet. And again, without verbs, verbal or telepathic, I assure the dragon that you too will fly. The sun starts rising, goes up into midday. We share a meal. I am depleting the food I have. The other Dowsers had given me a big roasted fish to feed especially my charge. The sun starts to sink. So we have spent a full day at this glen in this sort of isolated, protected area. And just as the sun is completely set and the stars and the moon certainly come out, there's this great rush of wind that comes in, and I feel the parent is here. This glen is just big enough for a massive dragon to land in there, and this dragon has these beautiful raindrop shaped scales, where at the very beginnings the white end of the scales are blue, but the rest is this beautiful, fresh, bright green, like the first blades of grass that come out of the ground. And the youngling, the hatchling behind me, gets excited, starts pittering side to side, and starts flapping its own wings in expectation. The giant dragon parent lands opposite us on the other side of this spring water, and they look at each other expectantly. And I'm just in awe, as I know that by looking at each other, they are introducing themselves or reuniting themselves, and they are sharing who they are and what they've experienced. I feel such joy that this is how this relationship is what we have to protect. This is what we can learn from dragons, this care, this affinity to share experiences with each other. This is what will make us better people. This is the antithesis of what that monarch is after. The adolescent dragon gives me one look, sort of smiles with his eyes, smizes, and then rushes up to the edge of that spring with its wings kind of awkwardly flapping about, does one trip forward, catches itself, and then starts flying up and out. The parent, the dragon parent, looks at me, no words exchanged, and flies off after its hatchling. The reunification complete. Ooh. I gain 3 effect. 2, 3. I'm doing pretty good, mechanically, story-wise, in terms of resources. Famous last words. Famous last words. Famous last words. All right, let's move here. Spend a resource. Delete. Right. Flip the card. 6 of Hearts. A negative event. Card says, whatever their crimes, this was the fair fight. Okay, interesting. Having experienced a reunification, I feel like some elation, some relaxation, and I'm like thinking, all right, this really gives me a pep in my step to find the egg that I am searching for, and it's going to go well. It's absolutely going to go well. I go back and I can't wait to tell the fellow Dowsers in the caves what happened, how the reunification was successful, how the dragons understood we're really their allies, and I have all this positivity waiting for them, and I can't wait to find out what they've investigated to help my search move forward. I make it back into the caves, and I hear yelling. I hear grunting. I hear a fight. Oh no. I rush deeper in, and I see the Dowsers standing in a circle around an individual cowered in the ground, and pushing my way through. They are kicking, beating up a tied up, bound soldier from that heralds from the monarch, the one who's been subjugating the peoples, the one who has been hunting and cracking open the eggs to get to the magical yolks. A representation of everything we stand against. And the Dowser are wailing on this individual. And this individual can't defend themselves. Their arms are bound. They have no weapons. They're already bruised and mildly bleeding from cuts and scrapes everywhere else. And I'm watching this, and I don't find any joy or satisfaction from what is happening here. This isn't right. And unbeknownst to me, I don't even know what my body is doing. I start dragging the Dowsers off. And I try to push up the guard, the soldier. And I immediately start wiping. They're like, you have to stop. How? And they get angry with me, the Dowsers, asking how dare I defend a representation of all the evil that is happening in our land. We have to take a solid stance against it. Put all of them down. They're all traitors. They're all pigs. And I'm like, their actions might represent so. But how do we know this individual didn't have a choice? I encountered some people in a village in a very difficult part of the land who felt they didn't have any other choice but to rob me pretty profusely. Are they responsible for it? Yes. But are they also a consequence of a bad system? Absolutely. We are no better than the monsters we are calling them if we treat them this way. We have to treat our prisoners with dignity, feed them, give them a chance to explain themselves, and if they're willing to, make amends. And if they don't, you know what? At least they went in with eyes open. This is emotionally draining. This is exhausting. there are fights. I get shoved around a lot, and I don't really get to share the wonderful glowing experience I had of the reunification. Eventually, I'm told, I think it's better if you just move on now. Here's the information we gleaned for you. We're appreciative, but you have to let this with us. I'm hoping that my words have reached a few, but I know that I have to move on and find the egg I'm looking for. And I'm really hoping my words have broke through to some of the other Dowsers to stop being the monsters we're trying to fight against. So this takes a resource for me. So that takes me 1. And I haven't made the friends I thought I would make here. Oops. Okay, let's move along. This one. Okay. Flippy the card. A king of diamonds. What happens here? Sorry, that cost 1 resource to move. Bye. The King of Diamonds is a positive event. I see dragons continue to make convenient scapegoats. I leave the cave system. I take my pupper with me who was standing guard, and the pupper definitely has had some is definitely acting tense. Knows that there's sort of like knows there's tension in the air. Kind of been growling towards the cave, and I'm like, Pupper, let's go. We have to focus on what we're out here to do. And we leave the town. I look over my notes, and that they have I look over my notes that the Dowsers have collected, and they have given a lead that there has been another dragon sighting near me, but the townspeople have not been receiving news of a dragon nearby well. Frankly, it's unusual that dragons approach people as well. So this merits some investigation. And luckily it does follow the river, so I will take up that lead. And I reach another farming village. And sort of asking around what happened here, I learn that some farmers have been losing livestock. Suddenly, livestock that are left out at night, in the morning, there are a couple of missing. And when they look around the periphery, past the fields, a bit towards the hills, they're seeing some bones. They're seeing some charred bones. And having experienced dragons for quite a while now, I realize, oh, a dragon's been having snacks. But a bit desperately. Excuse me. Back. A dragon has been lifting livestock, has been mingling with people in an unusual way, trying to fend for itself, and consequently has been, destroying their livelihood. We cannot let these people be persuaded by their, albeit negative experience, that the dragons are best exterminated, hunted, and controlled by the monarch. I try to, in a sort of very roundabout way, explain the sort of intelligence and connections that dragons can indeed have. And I say that these are values we should be emulating, not the stories that have been told to you by the monarchs. Anyway, it is I believe you, and your experiences are valid, that losing livestock is bad, and seeing charred remains could very much well be is likely indicative of a dragon. Can you show me those bones? Yes. And I get taken out to those hillsides, to the foot of those hills, and I look at the charred remains of some livestock. I look around and I notice, unfortunately, yeah, these livestock have been charred, but they're intact. Like all the flesh, meat, fur, hair is still there. So they were just charred, but they weren't eaten. That, I know, is very unlikely to be dragon behavior. If a dragon, even being skittish, even being starving, were to go out and look for food near humans, it would have eaten these. It wouldn't have just charred them for the sake of charring. So I'm thinking. And I remember the experience I had in that one clearing where I found the dragon eggshell. Why would... And I ask, is this where you found that livestock? No, it was actually in a different area. We dragged it here to show you and to show the other people. Can you take me to where you actually found the corpse? I'm sorry, this is a very difficult thing. There's much convincing going along. It really helps that my pupper is literally giving puppy eyes. And people seem to trust me because they have this beautiful wolf puppy near with me. It really moves the conversation along. It really helps when I offer, like, yeah, you can pet them. You can pet them, sure. Great trust building exercise. And I eventually get led to where they actually had recovered and pulled out that goat's body. And it's a little crater. And I immediately remember back to that clearing where I found the crater of burnt machinery, where I had concluded the monarchy had launched some sort of weaponry. Maybe the weaponry can fly now, but I don't see the same metal shards. And I look, and I'm hunting. I go into my backpack and I pull out a couple of scraps that I actually collected from there, and I give it to my pupper to smell. And the pupper seems to know what I'm looking for, that singed metal smell, and starts sniffing around this little crater, both of us hands and knees on the ground, sort of digging through. I hear a bark from my pupper, and the pupper starts digging and keeps barking. I go over and I pull out a metal sheet. This wasn't a dragon. This was the work of the monarch. I feel that they've been testing some weaponry that soars through the skies and lands. And I think this indiscriminate testing is responsible. I pull out the shard, one more shard from my backpack, and this is what I found. And that is what is embedded in your soil here. This was not the work of a dragon. This was the monarch, the empire doing this. I'm convincing. The people accept. They have a good think. My words start to sink in a bit more. And I'm thanked for solving this bit of mystery. And I'm given, it's been a while, but a good loaf of fresh baked bread. I'm talking sourdough, hollow knocking, nice hydration, bubbly bread, crackling crust with a good ear. I'm hungry, can you tell? It's delicious. I say thanks and I move on. And as I'm following the river looking for more clues, I see another shadow fly over. I'm feeling a bit too popular with dragons a bit at this point. And I look up and I see flying over a hill the shadow of this bright orange dragon. And I know this is an autumn dragon. And I know, just by looking, I know that it's sort of saying thank you. I just know. I just looked at it and I know. I gain 5 effect for that. Wow. I am waiting to get punished to 3, 4. I am waiting to get punished. All right, let's move along. Okay, I have to gamble here. I have to gamble. Let's keep this going like another 20-ish minutes. I'm gonna try to be quick. Not be quick, but I'm gonna try to be a little more concise in the story. What's happening here? 2 of Hearts. A negative effect. They interrupted the only bath I've had in a fortnight. I followed the river, and I'm actually led into a fairly industrial city. The beautiful river I've been following starts getting a bit muddied. It's getting a bit dirty. The water isn't as pristine. And immediately on the town walls, I see big banners praising the monarch and the empire, and it's a glorious machinery that'll bring prosperity and riches to its supporters. I tried to be neutral, but people are seeing my neutrality as suspect, as dangerous. Sorry, I need to remove one thing for moving. There we go. People see my neutrality as insincere, as dangerous. And they think that if I can't take a stand, I need to get out of here. And I am literally chased with pitchforks because they can't get a clear word from me. I don't feel there's anyone here I can trust to share what I'm actually doing with. I don't know if I'm going to get sympathizers here. And at this moment, I am fearing for my life, because if they catch me and they see what things I have on me, they are going to find out. I need to go. I need to run. I was looking forward to a soft bed. I was looking forward to a bath tonight. That's not going to happen. I lose 5 effect for this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, there we go. Okay. I'm gonna go down. Let's go down. This way. 5 of spades. A negative effect. Mother Answer has a lot to answer for. I'm running out of this town. I feel that I need to get far, far away, because if someone gets curious, someone has a second thought, they might send people after me. I don't have time to rest. I'm just running along the riverbank. I am seeing where it's the most shallow, or I'm trying to, because my little technical bobble doodad that helped me gauge depth of water is broken. And I think this looks shallow, but I can't gauge it very well. So I start to ford the river, trying to get to the other side so my footprints aren't as visible anymore. And I try to continue down the river some distance before I cross to the other side. And at this point, I had also taken off my boots, because I need to have dry boots to run. So my boots and my thick knitted socks are in my boot, and I'm barefoot fording this river, shuffling as fast as I can. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. It's dark. This is not fun. And I feel this sharp pain, and I lift my foot, and out at the bottom is a broken crab shell sticking out the bottom of my foot, and I am not having a good day. I am not having a good day. I pull it out, grit my teeth, and keep going. And eventually I feel that I have hit my track well enough that I can sit and rest and dry off. with like this pain throbbing at the base of my foot. I try to bandage it up and I just try to find sleep to re-energize because I need to keep moving. I wake up the next morning with Pupper licking my face, and I realize I have slept in far way too late into the middle of the day. I have a pounding headache and I feel a lot of moisture on my face. I am running a fever. That cut I got at the bottom of my foot is not looking very good. And I have to just sit at the base of a tree and going through all my reserves, hobbling to try to find some herbs to make a poultice to bring down my fever, but I feel like crap. But I need to slow down and take care of this, otherwise I'm going to do poorly. I lose 2 resources. Here we go. But eventually, I do find some willow bark, I believe, lowers fever. I do manage to make a poultice of some dried herbs I do carry with me, and the angry redness in the wound underneath my foot does heal for a while, but I'm really slowed down because I can't put full weight on this. This is really bad. But I howl along because there's a dragon egg waiting for me. Okay. Okay, I have to gamble. Where is this ace? I'm looking for the ace of hearts. Where is it? Up, down, left, right. Okay, I'm gonna go up. Let's go up. Okay, 1 resource to move. I'm just moving the resources I have here so they're on screen. I'm not adding, just shuffling them into the screen. Excuse me. Okay, I deleted 1. Flip. Queen of Spades. A positive effect. Thank Mama for my natural charm. My foot really hurts. This shell had broken right in the like fleshy part of my foot, and I'm hobbling along and I find a cave. And I'm like, okay, I can rest here. 1 more night should do it. 1 more night will do it. And as soon as I head into the cave, it is cold. There's a couple of more meters inside the cave and there are icicles in there. And I'm wondering, what is going on? I also hear a breath, a moist breath coming in. And I feel around for my dowsing crystals. And the one predominantly that's hanging on a necklace feels cold. And I'm like, a dragon egg? Here? No. I keep going in forward, holding the dowsing crystal ahead of me for light. And as I go deeper into the cave and turn a corner, in front of me, like a wall, are these sparkling frost white wall of scales. And the scales are pointed like the edges of a snowflake. And I just see a wall of scales from floor to the cave ceiling. And I sort of stagger backwards, hobbling on my one good leg. And Pupper starts barking. I'm like, Pupper, shh, shh, shh. Eventually, the whole mass of scales moves back and starts rotating. And before me, I see a winter dragon. A massive adult winter dragon rotating. And I see his beautiful face, sort of icy scales up along the sides, these beautiful light blue gray eyes looking at me in the light of my dowsing crystal. And I'm caught off guard and I'm verbally now apologizing. I'm sorry. I will leave you now. Excuse me. And as I'm sort of audibly giving my awkward and anxious apologies, I make that eye connection with that dragon. And in that instance, again, not without words, verbally or telepathically, I know that this dragon is incubating an egg. And in that moment, I sort of like, I'm stopped. I sort of crane my head a little bit past the dragon's massive head, which is taking up almost the entirety of this cave opening. I'm deeper in. And I see just the glint of an egg within... I see the glint of an egg with the giant dragon's body coiled around it. And I feel some joy. And I stumble, and again, I audibly, verbally say, congratulations. Many blessings to you. I will leave you to... And I make that visual connection with the dragon. And I know, I just know the dragon is asking me to take off my boot and sock of the injured foot. And I know I have to do this. And it feels really sheepish, but I know I have to. And I'm like, okay. I lean down on one foot and I pull off my boot. I wince as I peel the sock off. And my injured foot is looking... It's bruised, but it's not like angry, infected, swollen. And as I kind of like feel really embarrassed showing my human, weak little injured foot at it, the dragon looks back at me and gives this long exhale. And from its nostrils, this icy mist emanates from it. And that icy mist curls around my extended injured foot. And I feel the coolness of that breath just really numb the pain. Even though I don't have to, I audibly and verbally thank the dragon. And figuring I'm going to capitalize on my foot being just like the slightest bit numbed, not feeling pain, I'm going to move. I'm not going to run on this foot, but I'm going to move quickly and make space. And I duck out of the cave and continue on my path. I gain 4 effects. Woo. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's try a few more cards, and then we might have to do a part 2. Wouldn't it be silly if like I say part 2 and the next time literally the card I need comes up? Okay, that was the queen. I'm gonna go diagonally here. King of Hearts, come on! Where's my ace? I remove 1 resource for moving. There we go. Positive event. That was some entrance. I don't have to hobble anymore out of the cave. My foot, the injured foot, is nicely numbed. It's like when you really bruise yourself and you put it in an ice pack. There's an initial sting, but you feel the swelling go down. You feel that it's a bit more comfortable after a while. And this coolness effect lasts an unnaturally long time, likely due to the dragon's innate powers. And I'm really grateful for this. I can move deftly, not as fast as I were fully healed, because I know I should let this injury heal, but I'm able to move nonetheless. And as I'm moving out of this wooded area, continuing my path along the river, dipping in and out of the river to make sure that there isn't another egg, this time with my shoes and socks on, lest I injure it again. All of a sudden, I hear this whistling sound. And I look up, and almost like a comet, I see this shining metallic orb, like the size of a car, fall through the sky and land some distance in front of me. And I see earth like poof, fly upwards, and I see fire. And I'm thinking, those machines that I've seen destroy the first egg hurt the livestock. I'm seeing it in action here. And even from my distance, I hear yelling. I start running. Ignoring the pain in my foot, I start running. More and more of these spherical orbs start falling out of the sky like comets. And people are running for the limited cover. This is in this open, grassy area. Livestock are flying everywhere. These massive orbs are falling from the sky and just erupting in fire, and shrapnel goes everywhere, and people are struggling, screaming, crying. And I'm seeing the Empire, the Monarch's machinery horror in action. I'm just a single person. There's nothing I can really do here. Pupper and I try to herd people to more fortified areas. We try to find cellars. We try to find them away from, but they keep landing. 2, 3, 4. This is awful. This feels really bad. And then, while the bombardment continues, I'm keeping an eye out through the wooden doors of this shed, of the cellar that we're in, and I see something soaring through the sky, a different shape and velocity than the flying orbs. I've seen this before. I go out of the cellar, people behind me like, no, come back, what are you doing? I look up in pure awe, and I see the spring dragon I had encountered earlier. And I see them diving opposite the metallic sphere that's coming down. And I see them buffeting the trajectory of that sphere with their massive, massive green-scaled tail and just lobbing it a distance away. The trajectory, the force, the speed broken. And it just kind of lands and rolls and explodes harmlessly off a side. The dragons are helping us. I'm watching awestruck, and some people are also starting to get wind of what's happening. I hear the cheers and the whoops behind me. And as I see the dragon turned to receive another, to try to lob out another orb, I noticed that a volley is coming in behind them. They are coming from the sky, like from above the clouds. I don't know how they're being delivered. But as the dragon is taking care of lobbing one more, and I see the volley behind it, I put my hand on the crystal on my chest, and telepathically I almost scream, like my emotions say, behind you. And that dragon just knows. It just knows. And is able to duck out of the way. These 3 orbs do land near the town. Luckily, we have evacuated, or we're in some safer area, and the dragon themselves was not harmed. The dragon flies back, circles around, and lands in front of me in the middle of this town under siege. And we look at each other. And in that moment, I just know, I'm being invited to step on this dragon's back. The adrenaline doesn't let me think about permission, respect, honor, fear. I just get on. And together, with me being able to look behind in its periphery, we're able to lob the rest of the spherical metallic orbs that fall out of the sky and keep them away from this town. the people are in awe. They've never seen someone ride a dragon before. They've never seen a dragon in recent history come to their aid like this. After this ordeal is done, the dragon brings me down, seems to look at the rest of the townspeople, and everyone has a moment of silence where they all just know that there is a gratitude, there is a mutual respect. And the dragon flies off, as we all close our eyes, knowing we have to close our eyes so that the dragon can safely depart. And we all kind of look at each other like, we all saw that, we experienced that. This is going to be some awful work in the morning, but let's celebrate the fact that we survived. And whatever barrels of alcohol that have not been destroyed, we're going to drink tonight. And I gain 5 effect. 1. Here. 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. I have a lot of resource. Okay, 15 more minutes. I have a lot of resource. So I think I might invest resources in moving backwards and forwards at this point. Because I don't know where this ace is. Okay, diagonal. Down here. Ace. Ace. Up. Heart. Positive. A positive event. Sometimes I forget that there are others working for peace out here. All right, I remove 1 resource for having moved. Cool. While traversing. All right, let's keep this one simple. I continue down the path of the river. I have a bit of a hangover because we partied hard, and when I explained what I was doing to the townspeople, they're like, "You need to go. We're going to take care of our own home. Thank you for giving us a fighting chance, but you don't stay here and rebuild. We're going to do that. We're going to rebuild our homes. You go." And I'm given some dry provisions. I'm given some very hard old cheese, which is yummy salt crystals and flavor. And I continue down the path of the following the river. The foot in my pain, now mostly gone. I feel that in these past few weeks, Pupper has grown like a head, like a head's worth. This beautiful slate gray, dark gray fur. And you just sort of know. And I keep telling myself I haven't named Pupper, which is an ironic statement because I'm clearly calling this dog Pupper. And even if this wolf gets full grown, I think for as long as I know it, I'm going to call it Pupper. We continue down the river looking for traces of a dragon egg. Finding none. As the sun starts to go down, I see a bit of light in the distance, like a campfire, and I'm a bit hesitant. So Pupper and I sort of skirt around the side and try to take a look, see who these people are. Are they guards? Are they soldiers? No, they're people. Okay, safety in numbers. Maybe we can camp with them. They seem to be merry. I hear some songs. That's not certainly bandit behavior, I determine. Okay, cool. We approach forward, say like, "Hello, I'm journeying and safety in numbers. May I join you? I'll also like spend watch as well." And as I get closer, I realize that I see a lot of familiar brown cloaks and hoods. And we do like the Spider-Man point where they're like, "I've come across a band of fellow Dowsers." And there's this relief. We do our secret handshake, and they tell me about what they've been on, and I tell them about what they've been on. We share each other's stories, and they're really impressed when I tell them I've encountered a number of dragons so far. I facilitated a reunification. I just rode a dragon, and they're like, wow, that's so cool. But they have some equally really cool stories as well. They had recently delivered a found egg to a safe house, and they're on their way back to their original camp. And that is one of the greatest joys of a Dowser, to have delivered an egg safely. So we're all impressed with each other. We pat ourselves on the back, and it brings a really big pep in our step. And this one gives me a D6 effect. So I don't know how much effect I'm going to get. We're going to find out. 4 effect. I'll take it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cool. All right. Down. Come on. No. I'm gonna be here all night, and I'm okay, but man. 5 of diamonds. 5 of diamonds is a negative effect. The spore storms look almost beautiful in the darkness. All right. We trade notes at the campfire with the other Dowsers about the terrain that's up ahead and the terrain that was behind me, so we know kind of what to expect. The Dowsers definitely say, like, yeah, we're totally going to go help the settlement that you just came from, because we're not on much of a timeline as you are. But for you, and they look at me, there's been reports of a spore storm, and spore storms are what caused the flip in our relationship with the dragons before. They were what made our world uninhabitable, and it was with the help of the magic from the dragon knights that we were able to persevere as humanity. And with the dragon's influence waning due to the machinations of the monarch, of the bad ruler, these spore storms have been coming back in effect and have been drowning and choking out the air and vegetation with explosive fungus growth. I don't mean the fungi are exploding, but like the growth is explosive. So I'm warned. I thank them. And part of all Dowser's equipment is like mask equipment to cover our nose and mouth, and goggles. And I make sure to fashion something for Pupper as well. We continue forward along the river, and indeed I noticed that there's this white fuzz over everything, choking out a lot of growth. There's a lot of algae in this part of the river that is choking out any other vegetation. And I just feeling sad that if we had kept up the relationship we had with the dragons, these spore storms would have been better in check, instead of threatening to choke out all life as we know it as well. And it's pretty harrowing being in this being in this area, because I know that if I take off my mask, within a couple of hours, I'm going to succumb. I'm going to get dizzy, I'm going to find it hard to breathe, and I might get in trouble. And I know my mask will filter things out pretty well. But what worries me most is Pupper. I don't have a fitted mask for a wolf dog, or goggles for a wolf dog. And my progress is going to be really slowed in this regard, because I am constantly taking out my own water supplies and just very repeatedly dabbing over Pupper's eyes, making sure Pupper has a fresh cloth over their snoot. And this is making me really anxious. Part of me just wants to carry this dog on my shoulders, and it's a big dog now, and just run through this. I don't know if I have the time or the spoons to take care of Pupper and keep checking this river for signs of the egg. I don't think the egg would have survived here, and I'm praying that I'm not going to find any shells here. So I have to book it through here. -2 effect. 1, 2. Next event. 10 of diamonds. I will be here all night. I don't care. A positive event. Anything old world is usually worth its weight in machine parts. Oh dear. How many more cards are? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, right. Could I make a mad dash? You know what? I'm going to take a little break just to give my vocal cords a bit of a break. And I'm going to be back in 5-ish minutes. Maybe try to run some ads. Thank you so much for being here late with me. This is longer than I had imagined, but I'm having fun. And I hope you are enjoying the story too. So thank you so much. And I'll see you in a bit. Toodles. Hello. I am back. I have 5 cards left. I really want to find the conclusion of this game. I'm going to do my best to finish it before 11 my time. We are here playing Dragon Dowser. We are looking for the Ace of Hearts, which is somewhere underneath one of these 5 cards. And that will conclude my Dowser finding the dragon egg, taking it back somewhere safely and rearing it. It's been quite a journey. We've had met socks, stubbed toes. We have a wolf pupper. We've met some dragons, and I spent way too long describing sourdough bread because, let's face it, that's what's important. All right, I'm gonna go over here. What do we got? It's gonna be the last card. It's gonna be the last card. 9 of diamonds is a positive event. Thank mana. This should rid me of the swamp stink. I eventually move past this patch of land where the spore storm has been concentrating, which results in these spores and this fuzzy white this fuzzy whiteness just to crawl over everything, and it releases all these spores into the air to make it hard to breathe. And I was really anxious because even though I have goggles and masks designed to keep myself safe, my wolf puppy does not, and this made me very anxious, trying to make sure my puppy was okay and trying to ensure that the river that I was following didn't have the egg I'm looking for, which is also covered in algae choking because of the extra growth. I eventually make it past, and I am harrowed, I am weary, and I've been on this journey so long. It's getting really warm. The next season is approaching, and I really hope I find this egg before it's too late. I'm gonna go here. I said I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna flip this card. 7 of diamonds. A negative event. Saving these eggs should never be a competition. I followed the river, trying to be diligent as I follow the river and look into the water, ford it several times, making sure I don't see a large dragon egg like nestled in the riverbank or tied down by roots in the bottom of the river. When the river is deep, this is harder to do. Or last, I tried to make sure that I don't see eggshells to confirm that the egg I'm looking for is no more. I make it over to a medium-sized town. There's a lot of water wheels running along the river, as this town is on both sides of the river. A lot of bridges over. It's a very cozy looking place. Very busy. And I see, as I entered, the row of wanted posters, just to keep. Oh, it's always a good idea to look at these, make sure to keep away from troublemakers. Maybe turning in some troublemakers gets me favor, or I know whether friends of mine, allies of mine, are unfairly noted as troublemakers. And I see in one of the posters a very evilly cartoonish rendering of myself. and I am very shocked. It says noted wearing a cloak and hood, noted with a dog companion, and I'm like, uh-oh. And the sign says that has been a sympathizer to the Dowsers, to a rebellious faction that, if they get their way, will turn back the advancements that the Empire has been making for the livelihood of its subjects. And I'm like, shit, fuck. And I do my best to try, and I feel really bad for doing this, but I have to pilfer some laundry hanging from lines to try to change my exterior of my outfit. I look really sadly at Pupper, and I tell Pupper, you need to go hide outside the town. Go, I will find you. Please, Pupper, go. I don't want them to take you or hurt you. Please. Pupper understands and eventually goes, complaining the whole way. And in my disguise, I have to make my way through the town and see if this egg hasn't been spotted, or if the army, the guards underneath the ruler, haven't already gotten the egg. And as I'm doing my information gathering, I come across another individual in much finer clothing, but still the look of a traveler. And they seem to have a very satisfied look on their face. And something about them draws me closer to them as I'm trying to keep stealthy. And I notice that hanging almost in the open is a crystal, a dragon dowsing crystal. And I'm wondering, who is this person so blatantly having the symbol of the rebellion on their person out like that? We're supposed to be a more clandestine organization. Is this a member of our organization? Is this someone who is just wearing it as a trophy? What is going on? I managed to stalk this person for the rest of the day. I follow them back to where they live, and they live like in like the third floor of a boarding house, and they're able to sort of go across, be in the building across the street to sort of see what's going into their window. And when I look carefully, I see that there are maps and signs and sketches of dragons and eggs and symbology of our rebellious order. I don't see other mentions that they are necessarily with the ruling regime. Okay, so they're selling information. They know who I am, though, because as awful as that wanted poster sign was, that was me. I don't have the large beauty mark here. My eyes aren't like super tired, and I do not have like 3 rows of exhausted rings under my eyes. That's a bit mean on them. Someone is pilfering information. Why? How did they know who I am? I came across a lot of people. I don't know. I can't stay here long, but they might know something. I'm gonna roll to see how many resources I lose, because it's minus d6 here. And let's have this roll be determine how successful I am in finding out what I can learn. I lose 2 resources, so I'm saying I can learn something. So 1, 2 resources gone. I managed to stake out their place, and they leave their apartment eventually. And I hop in through a window. And I learn that this individual is a member of the Dragon Dowsers. This is supposed to be an ally of mine. What are they doing so blatantly out in the open with their crystal like that? I find correspondence that they had actually written to the local guards, warning them of someone who looked like me. They seem to be, according to a journal I find, they seem to be using me as a distraction to divert resources and investigation towards me so that they can continue their work in finding an egg or dragons, but at my expense. This isn't the way things should be done. And I'm really disappointed that someone is, taking, is learning from the Empire to use someone at their own expense for their short-term gain. And I kind of shake my head. The damage has been done. If they're truly out to get an egg or a dragon, they should continue doing that. I shouldn't worry about my reputation. I need to focus what I'm doing. But this is really disappointing. I can't do nothing but leave. I'm in trouble here. And I go. Okay, moving on. This one. Jesus. 3 of Diamonds, a negative event. I have to move on. I start making plans for leaving the town. I take some time to look at the maps they have here because, you know what, I'm going to make use of this information too, but without endangering them, because that's how it's done. We're supposed to help each other, not throw each other to the wolves so we get an edge in. And I start reading more things in their journals that they had actually procured a poison, and they are going to place the poison in barracks where the Empire's soldiers reside. And I'm just aghast. We're not killers. We're not here to dispense justice. That's not our goal. We're not better than we're not to determine whose lives we take. That's against everything we stand for. I need to delete one for moving. Excuse me. I keep forgetting that. There we go. I need to spend time here and undo what they did, because if they link this to the Dragon Dowsers, that's going to reflect poorly on the organization as a whole and what we're trying to go through here. And I spent the rest of my day under a lot of stress, under a lot of people looking for someone who looks like me, a cartoon version of me. And I make sure to dump out as much water as I can. I make sure to put stinky things near the well so that they clearly think, oh, this water source is bad, because this poison would have been undetected otherwise. And I even spent another day until I feel fairly confident that these plans have been foiled. I even traced back this renegade Dowser, and they looked pissed. They looked upset. And I'm hoping that I need to find who their chapter is, and I need to report this to leadership, because this is just going to harm us in the long run. I lose 4 resources. 2, 3, 4. I'm moving my resources further into the screen. These are things I already have. I'm just moving it into the screen. Okay. Moving forward. Please. It's gonna be the last card. The 5 of Clubs is another negative event. Better ruined than in the wrong hands. I start moving out of the town because I know Pupper is waiting for me. And the town cradles both sides of the river, so I'm able to go out, and beyond the town is agrarian fields and farmlands. And I'm just kind of shaking my head as I reconvene with Pupper, thinking that it's a really big shame that the reputation is what lets us do what we do. and that we have to play politics to a certain point to move forward. It would just be much easier if people can trust each other. But we have to spend time, and trust takes energy and time. So I'm like, okay, maybe it's not all bad. Maybe it can tip things in our favor. And as I'm moving for these agrarian fields, I see some of these machines working in the field that are controlled by the farmers who have them in their employ. And as I'm slinking along, it's sort of dusk now, I see one of these machines go haywire. As it's sowing seeds, it starts kind of whipping its arms around, and people get scared. I have seen this behavior before in one of the earlier towns I visited. And I, keeping the change of clothing I have on, I rush in and say, hey, I've actually encountered what these behavior of these machines before. I've seen this before. And they respond, oh, so you know how to fix it? I recall I actually didn't fix anything. And I feel caught off guard. I feel sheepish and bad that I opened my mouth and I couldn't deliver on what I said. So I tried to get close. It's not very successful. We managed to tip the machine over. I open it and I look, and people have this expectation of who I am. I'm going to fix it, and I can't do anything. This hurts my soul. I lose a d6 worth of effect. It was 2 effects. 1, 2. This has taken a hit. Okay. Luckily, I didn't exactly reveal that I was a Dowser yet. That would have. Thankfully, I didn't lead with that, because that would have been a double whammy. So I just kind of very profusely and sheepishly apologize. People kind of put their hands on their hips and they tut, and that was really bad. Who are you, mysterious stranger? You kind of wasted our time. Oh, Kara says my captions are invisible. Let me double check. I see captions on my overlay. I hope it's still there. I'm gonna keep an eye on that. Anyway, yeah, I have to sheepishly leave before I make things worse for myself. Things can only get better from here on. I'm gonna cross over here. Please, please be the card I need. Okay, let me double check what I have to do here. It only took 3 hours. Scrolling. I am feeling like crap. This has not been a good couple of days. Luckily, I have Pupper to keep my spirits up as I continue following the river, dipping in and out, checking the banks, checking the middle, checking the reeds. And I even encounter some rabbits a day later, leaving the town. And as a bit of a spring storm starts coming in, it gets very windy. The gray clouds are rolling in, and I feel that I can't be standing on these rocks in the middle of the river much longer, because I'm going to lose my balance, and if I fall into this raging river, I'm going to hurt myself and my journey will end soon. I need to start getting back to the bank before the storm makes these rocks too slippery. As I'm crawling over, getting my footing, I hop over and I kind of wrap my arms carefully around this boulder, and my arms just kind of immediately slide down something slick, and I'm thinking like weird boulder, and I look down, and literally in my arms is an egg which is like a small pillow size, an egg literally nested in my arms. already. I look at it. I look at the bank at Pupper. I look back at it, and I feel the dowsing crystal that is hanging around my neck, glowing. I see like a little tug inside my shirt as the crystal is literally like pointing outwards towards the egg in my arm. And this is the egg I've been looking for. This is the egg of the spring dragon I have been searching. I carefully lift it up out of the water, and I very carefully traverse back to the riverbank. I listen inside it. I lift it. I very carefully, I don't shake it, but I just check. There's liquid inside, but it's dense. There's a heartbeat. There's a pulse. There's a warmth. Well, it's not very warm because it's been sitting in this cold water for so long. But it's a spring dragon, so a little bit of the cold is okay. I probably delayed a lot of its growth, but I have the egg. I have the egg. I have the egg. I look at Pupper and I tell Pupper, we have the egg. And Pupper's tail wags. And we're very, very happy. And they just kind of sit back as this spring storm just opens up and pours on top of me. I don't care. I am sitting back on the riverbank, laughing, smiling, with this egg on my lap with my arms around it, just like whooping. It's like, yes, I found it. I found it. Just as the seasons are about to change into summer. And with that, the story concludes effectively, mechanically. Yeah, I did spend 1 to move. I have enough resources in this case. As I know I have traveled really, really far, it doesn't really make much sense to go all the way back. But I do have to do some journeying to the nearest sanctuary. And I know there's one actually fairly close, another 2 days later. That's what these jokers symbolize. They symbolize the sanctuaries nearby. Let me see if there's anything special that happens otherwise. No. So I get just to narrate what happens. I no longer have to follow the river. Well, I have to follow it a little bit more. I need to go to a town, and I need to get my bearings, find a fellow Dowser, and get instructions to the nearest sanctuary. And I am indeed guided to a sanctuary. It's actually in a drier part of the country, further inland away from waterways. It's almost canyon-esque. It's not quite that dry yet, but the vegetation is much lower. But this feels like a very secluded place, good places for hiding, probably a cavern system, which is indeed what the sanctuary is. And I'm led with other Dowsers there, and they tell me that they've been waiting, and they're so happy that this egg has been retrieved. And now is the time to start rearing this egg, preparing it to hatch, so that one day can be returned. And it is part of my charge to be here alongside this egg for however long it takes for it to hatch. Knowing what we know about spring dragons, we ferry in growths, fresh spring growths, even though now it's pushing summer, to surround the egg. This egg needs fresh, new, young vitality. In that regard, Pupper is great company for the egg. Pupper joins me on many vigils of the egg, where we actually just sit near it. We're a guardian to this egg for weeks, for months, and it's not our job to keep it warm. The dragon egg just can be as it is. And it's almost pushing winter, some 2 months later, where we finally notice that this egg is really getting warm. It's almost emanating and glowing on the inside. And right towards the peak end of winter, so let's say in this part of the world, mid-February. The egg is now vibrating, emanating. And by the beginnings of March, there's a crack in the egg. Pupper is now almost, he's like half a head below fully grown. And Pupper is a beautiful slate gray wolf. Has never left my side. Has been a very loyal dog and seems to also take the job of guarding this egg very seriously. Something Pupper just knows. By March, these cracks occur, and a week later, as we watch these cracks progress, my fellow Dowsers and I, me being the charge of this egg, the egg suddenly splits in two, and out comes this beautiful aqua blue hatchling. Aqua blue for the renewing blue waters that spring season symbolizes. We're elated. This dragon is healthy. This dragon looks young, and we look at each other and we know each other. This dragon knows I've been looking for it. This dragon knows I've been sitting with it. This dragon knows I will deliver it to its parents before long. This dragon also knows Pupper, and Pupper knows it. And it's a couple of more weeks until, I'll say, a solid month, where this baby dragon, this hatchling, grows. At first, it's like the size of a medium dog. Like it comes out like the size of a corgi. Like it can still like hop on our backs, on our arms. It chirps adorably. It likes eating fish. We hunt rabbits for it. It plays tug of war with Pupper. And the dragon gets bigger and bigger. And eventually, this hatchling starts growing. And I'm gonna stop the story here as we sort of look at each other and we know that it's time for us to leave this cave and time for us to find the parent, to deliver it, where we're going to continue this cycle. And that was Dragon Dowser. What a lovely way to build a story. Really, really, truly, the prompts were lovely. And once I started building the world based on the hints and the suggestions that were given, that wasn't difficult at all. I recognize how the game said this doesn't take more than an hour or two, because if you're writing this down, you're writing like a paragraph, whereas I just have the liberty of narrating it straight away. So yeah, I see how that took a little longer. I ended up with quite a few resources. These cards that I shuffled in and out ended up mostly being positive events. I'm just going to take a look at this one. What is this card? 7 of Clubs. I'm just going to reflip it around. 7 of Clubs would have been a negative event. Okay. So it just so happens that my events were mostly positive and I got quite some resources. I could see where if you have repeated negative ones, that's going to really eat into your resource and you could have not found the egg. Oh, what a lovely story. I highly recommend, definitely check out this game. Let me see if I can get some links for you in the chatty chat. Yes, excuse me while I shuffle things around. The link to this game can be found on itch.io. There in the chat at hatchlingdm.itch.io/dragondowser. You can check out the details of their very successful Kickstarter and all the wonderful things the backers have created down in the link as well below. I want to give a very big thank you to Rich for providing this game, and ultimately the experience that was had. Very, very lovely. If you liked this, let us know on the video where we're going to post this on YouTube. Let us know on Twitter. Let us know on Blue Sky. And maybe we're going to have more of these solo plays with other people from the HoT family. If you liked what you saw, definitely join our community and support us. Thank you for those that followed us today. If you have a spare Amazon Prime account and you haven't subscribed to a Twitch channel, maybe consider tossing that our way. We'd really appreciate it. Commenting, liking, retweeting, reposting our things on social media is also a very helpful way for us to gain an audience, for us to share, especially that we are a European-based community, and this kind of TTRPG content does exist on this side of the pond, and it also happens with POC people local to the EU and UK. Wow, that's amazing. Also, it would really be nice if you could subscribe to our YouTube or this VOD, and the VODs of all our other games are posted. You can find that youtube.com/Horde of Tales. We have a long-running D&D 5th edition Eberron game. That's Tuesdays, HoT time, which is 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. British time, UK time. And we have more things in the work. We have some big HoT news coming up. And yeah, definitely check us out. Thank you so much for your time, for being part of this story, and definitely give Richard and Hatchling Games some love. Let's see who we have to raid. I think I have gone over time and everyone I had wanted to raid is no longer around. I stand corrected. Let's see. Oh, Girls Run These Worlds are running. They have the premiere of their season 2 of their Alien RPG game. They are wonderful. Thank you, M4V21, for following as well. We are going to send a raid over there. My name has been Aida. You can find me on Twitter at InThePan with underscores. And catch me again on Tuesday playing our Eberron game. Now I am going to do my best and send you to Girls Run These Worlds. Thank you so much. Be good raid guests, and I'll see you on Tuesday. Bye bye.